Today I have the pleasure of talking with Collin Smith from DS17 and now part of our DS New York team. So thanks for joining me, Collin.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody a quick bit about yourself and how you ended up on the Data School New York team?
Sure. So I guess to talk about how I wound up on the Data School New York team, I kind of have to explain how I even wound up on the Data School UK team.
Right.
As I am from the United States. I actually came over to the UK because my partner got an academic fellowship to study here back in 2019. And I said, well, hey, I would like to, go to London. That sounds like fun. But I also needed a job when I got there. So I had been dabbling around with Tableau with a nonprofit I've been working with in Indonesia. And then had kind of come across all these data school blogs. It really helped me figure out, how the heck to use this program, Tableau. And so I thought, well, I should at least try to apply since I'm going to London anyway. And
can't hurt, right? The worst we'll say is no.
Yeah, exactly. As fate would have it, I got in. And so then I just did 2.5 years with the Data School UK. And conveniently, I was planning to go back to the US at the same time that the Information Lab US was starting the Data School New York, and it all just has lined up quite well. So I'm going to be going over and helping start that up.
That's great. So I remember from your background that you lived in a lot of places. So Indonesia, Cambodia, Myanmar. Why did you travel all over like that? And how is that going to help you in your role in the US?
Yeah. Again, I wish I could say that, I was just inspired to go, but it was, again, my partner. Her name is Nina. So Nina had done a bunch of traveling in 2017 and met a couple organizations that she really clicked with. And one of them was this organization, Health and Harmony, that operates a health clinic in Borneo. And they're a planetary health organization, so they're trying to merge human health and rainforest conservation, protecting the forest by protecting the people around it. And so, she wanted to go back and work with them a little bit more. Again, I said, well, hey, that sounds like a fun place to go. But what the heck can I?
Yeah.
What the heck can I do while I'm there?
Yeah.
And yeah, they asked if I knew Tableau because they had a volunteer come build a bunch of actually quite good dashboards for them, but then the volunteer was no longer there to help maintain them, and they had kind of fallen by the wayside, but they really wanted to bring them back. So there's no better way to learn Tableau than to be handed a bunch of dashboards that somebody built and be like, okay, fix it all. So that's what I did. I thought this is a great opportunity to learn Tableau, to go live in a new place. And I really enjoyed my time there. I got to fix the dashboards for the clinic that had been made. I also got to help all the different program managers set up their data collections so that it would actually be effectively visualized with Tableau. It was a great just sort of intro, not just to how to use Tableau, but how to be that sort of consultant where you have to have that critical assessment of the whole pipeline, right, from the data collection to the visualization.
Yep.
And then since we were already in Southeast Asia, we figured we'd hang out with a couple friends that were working for cool companies in Myanmar and Cambodia, and they were both working on kind of energy access startups in those countries. So we went and spent a few weeks in each place. And again, I kind of said, hey, what data are you collecting? How are you looking at it? And both of them actually had surveys that they'd been conducting with the communities that they were working with, and had no really good way of understanding what was in those surveys. The data collection often comes before in people's mind, before the actual data interpretation. So you can often go into places and be like, hey, what data do you have? And they're like, oh yeah, we've got this spreadsheet and that spreadsheet, and oh, what have you done with it? Well, nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
We spent $5,000 collecting this data, or we spent 3 months collecting it, and now it just sits in a spreadsheet, right? And so it's just totally a open space for me to come in with even sort of entry-level Tableau knowledge and make a big difference. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you went from working in probably really personally satisfying kind of work helping, these companies that need help to going into placements in London where they tend to be, big companies that are making tons of money and stuff. How was it making that kind of transition from, you understand what I mean there? Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was very suspicious when
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
first was looking at the data school, on a couple of different levels. One, I was coming from the nonprofit world, so I just had that suspicion of for-profit work. I also had suspicion, I guess, as an American, of like the model of the data school. I
Right.
heard it and I was like, okay, this sounds a little too good to be true. Like, what's the
Sounds like a
catch here?
scam, right?
It sounds like some sort of multi-level marketing. You're going to recruit me, and then I'm going to have to recruit 10 more
Pyramid
people who are
scheme.
going to
Yeah.
recruit 10 more,
Yeah.
right? And so I think I might have told you at the time, I'm not sure, Andy, but like, put me in touch with somebody who's in the data school who comes from a nonprofit background.
Right.
And I wound up connecting with Manuela.
Yeah.
And she kind of was the one who was able to assure me that, yes, this is real. Like, yes, it is as good as it sounds. Yes, they are going to pay you to learn. And no, the for-profit world isn't quite as scary as you might have thought. And yeah, I think I've had the benefit of having placements that have either actually felt fairly fulfilling to me in a personal mission way,
Okay,
or
good.
have been really strong learning experiences. So my first placement was with National Trust, which for
Okay,
any
well, that's a good
Americans who
one.
might be
Yeah.
watching,
Yeah.
that's a big land and
Incredible
historical conservation
organization.
organization here in the UK. So they have all these cafes and shops all over England, and I had to help look at all the stock movements for all the shops
Yeah.
and cafes at these historic mansions and
So
parks.
that's one that lines up pretty well with your beliefs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that, Dan Rains, our placement coordinator, knew what the background I was coming from and helped kind of slot me in there,
Right.
which
Be a
I
good
really
fit. Yeah.
appreciated at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And then after that, I worked for a big training placement that we have, where I was just basically on Zoom training people every day. And that was also a super helpful experience, because I had no experience of like being on camera, trying to teach a room full of digital, people. And so I just learned a ton about, being comfortable on a screen, on, a training program, that sort of stuff. And then
so in that one then, so of course you got to learn a lot, but I guess it's also satisfying to see people improve as well, right? Even though it was a gigantic organization that you're ultimately kind of helping make money. If you can kind of silo that part, you are really helping people's careers.
Oh, totally. And I'm sure as a teacher, you yourself, that like that aha moment is so satisfying.
Very gratifying. Yeah.
And it's definitely satisfying for me too. I also love to teach people and train.
Yeah.
And I've also found ways while I've been at the information lab to feel like I am, contributing to, improving the company culture, really helping develop our pro bono work that we do called Till Plus, where we'll actually partner with a nonprofit that needs some sort of data visualization or data pipeline work done, and do it completely free for them. It's often done by people who are on the bench, between placements, or just have a little extra time in their schedule to work on it. So I've been pretty involved in that too, and gotten to continue to make connections within the nonprofit world. My intention still, even with going to data school in New York, is someday to go back into the nonprofit world. I would love to be something like a chief data officer for a large organization. I think it'd be really cool to do that for like the Nature Conservancy in the US, and be the person who, coordinates all of the data visualization, that sort of thing for an organization. And I think that the experience that I've been able to get in the Data School UK and now helping start up the Data School New York will really position me well to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are you looking most forward to moving to New York and starting the data school there? Other than working with Anne, because I think you're going to learn an incredible amount from her.
I love Anne already. Anne and I talk a few times a week, and I'm just so looking forward to getting to be in the same place with her and working with her.
Pretty infectious.
she's super infectious. She's really on it. You
Yeah.
know, the first time we met, I think it was like, "Hi, I'm Ann Jackson," and then her next thing that she said to me was like, "What are you good at?" Or like, "So, what are you good at?" Because she knew we'd be working together at Day School
Yeah.
New York,
Yeah.
and she just wanted to cut through all the pleasantries.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, "How are you going to help me?
Yeah.
How are we gonna build this thing out?"
Yeah.
But you know, it was kind of a refreshing change from being in the
Mhm.
UK, where everybody's, you know, a little bit oblique, a little bit around the
Yeah.
point, and
Yeah.
immediately it
Americans
was
are
just
much
like,
more direct.
"All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
how are we going to do this?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
um,
going to serve you well when you're coaching and mentoring people there as well, right? You know, being
mhm,
that kind of direct, here's the honest feedback. And yeah, that's the kind of feedback you get while you're in the data school and training as well. So hopefully that
yeah,
prepares you to pass that on to other
yeah.
people. How are you going to then try to get involved with charitable organizations while you're in New York? Because there's going to be tons of organizations you can work with there.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll bring Till Plus over to New York as well.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah. We haven't talked too much about it yet, but knowing me and knowing
Just
that
do
I'll
it.
be there, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure we'll do it.
yeah.
Um, yeah. And I think what I want to make sure that we're doing with Till Plus is finding projects that are in the right scope, because oftentimes I've seen us like start to develop a partnership with an organization and they kind of begin to just be reliant on us, rather than having more of a discrete project that we can complete, or some sort of training actually that we complete so that they can work on this stuff
Mhm,
themselves.
mhm,
So I think I want to be helping make sure that we have kind of the full package when we are reaching out to an organization and saying, "Hey, you know, we have this offering." I want to make sure it's like something that's more like a discrete visualization project, and then also packaged with some sort of training that they can upkeep it themselves. Um, and I think that will actually serve us better in terms of being able to help more
mhm.
organizations, and give them kind of a clear sense of what we are responsible for, what we can help them with.
Yeah, those sound like potential great Friday projects as well.
Yes.
Yeah, if the data can be cleaned up and maybe even client projects that we do.
Oh, absolutely. No,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love to see us do more. I would love to see like at least one client project be like a nonprofit, you know, or
We've done
government
that in the past
focused
before.
project.
Yeah,
Oh
we
yeah.
have done that in the past. So it's yeah, and it's really gratifying work. It's a lot of fun to see how you
Hmm.
can have this impact and how much they appreciate it, and you know, they're able to see things in their data that they never even knew, right? So
Oh right.
that's yeah, it's really satisfying work.
Yeah, when I was working in Indonesia, I was working with the education coordinator for the organization who'd been there for like 10 years
Mhm.
and had always logged information about who she was teaching and how many people, but had never really taken the time to put it all together. And
Mhm.
so as soon as I dropped it in Tableau, it was like, "Eti, look, you've taught 9,000 people over the last 10 years."
Yeah.
And she was like,
Oh my
"What?
God. Yeah,
No way,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so cool." You
yeah.
know, and I think that's a great part of working with nonprofits is you get to reflect the amazing work that they're doing back to
Mhm.
them in a way
Yeah,
that they had never really thought about before.
yeah. One more question. What's going to be your biggest challenge, you think, moving to New York and working with getting the data school started?
Yeah. Um, I think I have never really been in like a startup environment before.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm already finding in just my first couple of weeks, you know, working full time for Data School New York, that it's a huge time commitment. It's a huge brain space commitment,
Hmm.
to be in that kind of environment. It's exciting. You feel like you matter, but there's
Yeah,
also a stress of
there's a
responsibility
lot to do.
and the weight of like, oh my gosh, the success of this in no small way depends upon the work that I'm doing, which can be a little bit of a different feeling than working for a huge, you know, international corporate bank.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I'm still getting used to that feeling,
Hmm.
and I'm still understanding like how to find the balance with it. Um, yeah, and I think, you know, also sort of leaning into a lot of the work that I've been doing with diversity, equity, and inclusion in the UK, I'm now in a much more position of responsibility in the US, which is exciting. Again, because it's like, okay, now I actually have some control, but that
Right.
means that I'm
You
even
have
more
control.
responsible to do something about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I think that as well is on my mind going into Data School New York.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time, Collin, and I'm sure we'll be working together a lot in New York.
I can't wait, Andy.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.